Let's work on our push-ups. You want to improve on your push-ups? Well, in order to progress, you got to regress to progress. Oh my God, that's so cheesy. But it's true, and I dig it. So we're going to go with that theme of regressing to progress. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Orgasmicpathways.com. Choose your pathways. You might have noticed, yes, you noticed correctly. This is my bedroom to give the morning vibe, fresh out of bed. This is a great way to wake up the body as well as turn on your metabolism, in addition to a nice healthy glass of water, some lemon juice, breakfast, whatever else that works for you. So let's get to this. First, I'm going to show you the correct way of holding a plank, because that's really the first part of all of this. So once you get that down, go into the push-up, and I will show you how to regress if you can't hold a proper plank, so that you can work up to being able to hold a proper plank and be more viable against injury instead of vulnerable for injury. And who doesn't want that? Right off the bat, I'm just a lay person who's learned a lot, and I love sharing, so I'm not saying any of this to undermine any healthcare professional. If you have any concerns, don't do any of this. Check in with your healthcare provider. Let's do this. Okay, so the push-up, plank part of a push-up. Here's how you do it correctly, and then we'll regress from there and build up. So if you'll notice, my shoulders are protracted. They're not retracted like this, they're protracted. So that's the first mistake I see with a lot of people. The second mistake is going to be their back bows like this. Their core isn't engaged. I'm doing this. So I'll get this a little closer here. You'll see my shoulders, they're protracted right now. Retracted, don't do that. Do that. And then with the lower back, my abs are scooped. Instead of this, letting it get loose, I'm doing this. Not that, but this. So here's why this is super important. So if your shoulders are loose and they're retracting instead of protracting, you're putting unnecessary strain on all these joints and ligaments around your shoulders, and you're just going to make them sore. Not in a way that's healthy and conducive to getting stronger, but in a way that wears them out. And it's going to be harder to maintain good posture when you're walking. It might make it harder to sleep. Just everything, it translates throughout the day as everything is just more difficult and you're more achy and, ooh, what did I do? I thought push-ups were healthy. They are if you do them correctly, and you may have to regress first to build up and progress to do them correctly. So with the low back, if you are not doing this, but you're doing this, making a bow like that, well, that's because your stabilizing muscles in the backside of your core are weak. So you're compensating for that weakness by doing more too soon than you should. And your lower back, your vertebrae is sort of picking up that slack, and not in a healthy way. Like, there's ways to work out the lower back that strengthens the lower back. Not in this video, maybe another video, but it's mostly along the vertebrae and the skeletal tissue that you're going to do damage long term, and even a little bit short term too. You'll probably notice right away if you do enough plank holds and push-ups with really bad form, letting your back bow is probably going to be a little sore throughout the day, throughout the next few days, because you're wearing that out. And so you're doing damage to your vertebrae, opening yourself up to the possibility, an increased possibility to more injury, especially just injuries resulting in just wearing out these vertebrae back here. So don't do that. Okay, so here are some things you can do to regress to work up to being able to do that. And some of these things you guys already know. So if you find yourself not able to hold this the way that I've shown you, with a protracted shoulder blades and your abs scooped, and also drawing your kneecaps up towards your hips so that your entire body is engaged and your heels are back digging towards the floor. Arms straight, hands below the shoulders approximately, and head also straight instead of a forward head tilt like this. Don't do that. That puts unnecessary strain on your neck. So if it's not perfect like this, then you can drop to your knees. Everybody knows about that. And if that helps you to protract your shoulder blades, great. That's a good starting point. And then eventually, over time, start with holding a plank. Start with like maybe 5 seconds, a couple breaths. And then build up to being able to hold that for 10 seconds. And then 20 seconds, a half a minute is a great first benchmark. But I would actually like you to be able to work up to holding a solid plank like that with everything engaged properly for 2 minutes with your shoulders protracted, your abs scooped, your kneecaps drawn up towards your hips, hands under your shoulders, heels shooting back towards the floor. If you can meet all those criteria points for 2 minutes, oh man, you're doing better than probably 98% of the population. Also, that is going to translate over to just day-to-day life when you're doing anything, even just walking and simple things like that. Or if you've got a box you've got to move, you're going to have excellent postural alignment, which translates to an easier life and better breathing and better sleep. I mean, you name better digestion and regularity. I mean, everything relates to everything. So it's one of the most important things, most meaningful things a person can do is being able to hold a solid plank like that with all those criteria checkpoints for a solid 2 minutes. Even 1 minute is so good. And if it starts with 5 seconds, build from there. So you got to regress down to 5-10 seconds, whatever your starting point is to meet that checkpoint. That's where you start, and then you build from there and go for 2 minutes. If you want to go beyond that, fine. That's cool too. Okay, so here are some other things that you can do in order to regress to progress. Back to the bedroom, keeping with the morning theme, you can do this right out of bed to the edge of your bed. So basically you're raising up the front part of your body. So the more you incline like that, the easier it's going to be. The closer you go to the floor, the harder it's going to be. So for demonstration's sake, got the edge of the bed right here. It's pretty high up. You can use a tabletop, which is probably even higher. And I'll show you another option that's even higher. But maintaining that checklist, shoulders are protracted, abs are scooped, my back isn't loose, my shoulders aren't loose, heels are digging down towards the floor, kneecaps drawing up towards my hips, and hold that. And then lower myself and keep going. Do as many as you can. Breathing the entire time, full inhalations, full exhalations. Breathing is the most important part. Now let me show you something that makes it even easier if you need to regress further. You've got some walls in your house, right? Probably at least 4 of them. Find a clear spot. This is going to be the easiest. If you need to regress to here, respect it wherever your starting point is to meet those check marks, right? So if it's here, fine. Maybe stand straight to the wall and protract your shoulder blades and scoop your abs. And then step away, little steps. The further you step away, the more difficult it is, the more you come back to the wall, the easier it is. So play with that, and as you get stronger, you make progress. And you can do push-ups. So get into your starting point, regress into that so that you can progress. So regression equals progress here. Remember that. Don't be discouraged. We've all got a starting point. Respect it no matter where it's at and progress from there, meeting that checkpoint, all those checkpoints, so that you become more viable against injury in the real world and less vulnerable for injury. Maybe you've got a full stack in your house you can use, I don't know, kitchen table, chair, whatever it is. If you want to add something more explosive, another way you can regress to progress, or maybe this is more the progression part, you be the judge, but you can always, all checkpoints are met before I go down. Here's a push-up. Now here's another variety that I could progress to. Clap behind your back. So whatever the case may be, clap, don't clap, behind your back like on that last one. You can do that on an incline, you can do that on the floor. You know, I've never actually tried an explosive push-up like that where I'm clapping behind my back. In front, sure, but I might have to make another video demonstrating that one. I just thought of that. So that's another variation you can try to make yourself get better, to make progress. Well, we did the variation where we're inclined, raising the upper body up. How about declined, where you're going to raise the lower body up? Well, that makes it even harder than just being on the floor. So this is, here's the head, here's the feet. So this is easy, gets harder and harder and harder as I demonstrated on the wall, and then on the bed too. So this is, now we're just flat on the floor, hands and feet are on the floor. Now put the feet up. So the other, now it gets harder, 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 harder. Okay, so let me demonstrate that. So my lower body is up. All checkpoints are being made before I even attempt this move. If my shoulder blades are not protracted, then I come down from this and I find I regress. I find an easier version till I build up the strength, and then I progress to this. My abs are scooped, shoulder blades protracted, heels digging back, kneecaps drawn towards my hips, everything's engaged, and then I do the push-up. Down to the floor, my neck and head is straight, no forward head tilt. If you want to add an explosive move, go for it. Everything's solid. See, we got variety here. Something for everybody, and something most importantly for everyone to regress, to progress into, so that we get better and stronger and more viable. Now, before I show this one more move, this ultimate ultra move for a push-up, something to regress, to progress into, let me explain a couple things that are very important. So, are you paying attention? Are we locked eye to eye? Okay, good. So, get into where you're starting. If you can't make all the check marks, all the different checkpoints I showed you with your shoulders retracted, abs scooped, kneecaps drawn up towards the hips, heels digging back, hands under your shoulders, all those things, don't progress forward. Otherwise, you may think you're getting stronger or that you might get stronger. You're probably not. You're actually probably going to get weaker, and you're going to be more exposed to vulnerabilities, to injuries. So keep that in mind and be motivated by it, because if you progress doing it the right way, you're going to have a mental fireworks show in your brain that's really going to be meaningful and valuable to you, knowing that you progressed the right way, the healthy way, in a real meaningful way that translates to just living an easier life and sleeping better and all those other things too, and getting stronger, you name it. So don't be purpose defeating and getting injured and getting weaker just because you were able to do a more intensified version of a push-up or any exercise. I'm just showing you a push-up right now, and perhaps I'll do another video like this on other exercises too, showing you ways where you have to regress to progress. In fact, I'm sure that I will. But don't do it in a way that's purpose defeating. Otherwise, in the back of your mind it isn't real, and it's not going to feel as good. So go for that wonderful feeling in your brain as well as physically in your body. Okay, another thing. That last little video segment clip where I was showing you how to do the decline versus the incline. So now your head is down and your feet is up. So you can, anytime you're doing a push-up, you are working the chest, shoulders, and triceps. Depending on the angle, the trajectory, hand placement, you're going to be focused on one of those three sets of muscles more than the other. So, for example, that incline or the decline push-up, the higher up that you go, the more the load shifts from your chest to your shoulders. So when you're just on the straight floor, your hands and feet are on the floor, you're pretty much working chest, shoulders, and triceps. If you bring the hands in closer, you're doing more triceps. If they're further away, you're doing more the chest, and you're always hitting the shoulders. So when you start going up, with your feet going up and your head going down, you're shifting the load from your chest to your shoulders. When you're at about a 45-degree angle, it's pretty much the load, the tension is centrally located between the chest and the shoulders. And when you go past 45 degrees, it shifts more dominantly to the shoulders and less on the chest. If you're able to get into a full handstand and do some presses in a handstand, well, you're pretty much isolating the shoulders at that point, and the chest is very little involved, and the triceps are still involved as well because you're extending your elbow joint. And anytime you're extending your elbow joint, your triceps are going to be involved in some way, shape, or form. So those are all variables you can play with to target different aspects of your chest, shoulders, and your triceps. Just thought you'd like to know. Okay, the final push-up variation I'm going to show you to regress to progress into is going to be a wall push-up. And I got videos specifically dedicated to wall push-ups. You can check those out, orgasmicpathways.com. Go to my YouTube channel and you'll find the different playlists. One of them, I believe, is workout tips. It's probably in that one. If you don't see it, let me know. I'll show you. And subscribe to my YouTube, please. That helps me out a lot subscribing and commenting on the videos, because then YouTube shows my content to more people, and that helps me a ton. So thank you in advance for that. So the wall push-up, here we go. Keeping in mind to meet all criteria checkpoints before even doing this. All right, so feet go to the wall. I'm gonna keep my body parallel to the floor because that's gonna be the hardest. You can start wall push-ups. The main modification with this one, if you can't do it with your body parallel, is to walk your feet up higher. You're gonna shift more from the chest to the shoulders with your load, but if you're keeping the form correct, that's the most important thing. And also, if your goal is to work more on your shoulders, then regardless, that would make more sense anyway. Or if your goal is to keep it pretty centrally located between shoulders, chest, or focus more on the chest, then you'd want to be parallel with the floor. But nonetheless, I'm going to start with my hand placement. Shoulders maybe a little wider than shoulders, whatever's comfortable. Put my feet to the wall. Going for parallel, here we go, cool, looks good. Shoulder blades are protracted, abs are scooped, heels are obviously driven back, they're on the wall, kneecaps drawn towards the hips, all criteria is met, let's go. Perfect. And that's it. I put my feet up, it's a little easier, it's still hard, and I can also hold this for a while too, or you can if you want. Now that's a challenge. I can barely hold that for a minute, and that's if I come into it fresh, just did a warm up and it's like my first exercise of the day. I can hold that one for about a minute. 2 minutes someday, maybe. That'd be pretty cool. But even just that little bit I did just now, whew. Any one of these varieties I've showed you today is really a full body workout. It just depends on where you're at to engage properly and meet all the criteria checkpoints before progressing to the next. So there you have it. I hope you got a lot out of that. If you were paying attention to all the different parts of this video, every bit of info I gave, oh my God, you got so much value from this. It's incredible. And a lot of this translates to a lot of other exercises too. And I got so much content. Check out my 5 poses you must master video. I go over how to master the push-up, as well as the squat, the lunge, a couple other things. Things that are what I call fountain of youth exercises to master, because if you master them, when you master them, it'll help you stay feeling young, your mobility, your functionality, so you don't lose that as you get older like most people do and get all sore and stuff. It's very important. Also, a diet, anti-inflammation. Most people eat a pro-inflammation diet, fires things up in the body in the bad way, and they don't practice good posture and they haven't mastered those 5 poses. So you add all that up, and it's no wonder people lose their mobility. It slowly chips away over time, their functionality. They get sore, achy, they require medications as they get older, and medications to deal with the side effects of the first round, and before you know it, somebody's on a dozen, 2 dozen different medications and has one of those pill boxes that says Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I think this is a worthwhile lifestyle, and I hope that you do too. In fact, you probably do if you're still watching this video, that's for sure. Thanks everyone. Comment, tell me what variety, what variation you're at right now that you had to regress to so that you can progress, and then tell me you're gonna progress because you're taking that regression seriously with your eye on the ball of progression. It's not regression for the sake of regression, it's regression for the sake of progress so that you can get stronger, and your brain will know it in a meaningful way instead of, well, I'm cheating and I'm not doing right. No, it makes a world of difference just to your emotional and your psychological health too, to know that you are making progress in a way that is real. It makes a difference, it really does. So tell me where you're at, and tell me that you're going to progress, and tell me the next thing you're going to progress to, and anything else you want to share. I'd love to hear about it. And leaving comments also helps me out with YouTube a lot, with YouTube showing this to more people, which helps me out a lot. Next video coming soon, y'all. Bye for now. Mwah.